Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So it is the spoopy season. I'm so excited. So I figured this Halloween people like to get all scary and spooky and stuff, and sometimes it can be really hard or expensive to get that look you're wanting. If you want like a gash in your face, if you want your nose ripped off, if you want your eyeball popping out. And some people kind of go into it blindly, not knowing what they're doing, you know. They spend a bunch of money thinking they need all this stuff and they really don't. So I figured I would hop on here to just show you a basic tutorial on how to create the wounds and stuff like that with your face, kind of on a budget, like a more budget friendly, or with things you already might have. Let's get into what you're gonna need and stuff like that, and then we'll start putting this on our faces. So when you want to build something on your face, whether it be a burn, a wound, a gunshot, like your face ripping off, blah blah blah, you're gonna use one of the two mediums that's kind of more available and cheaper for the Halloween season. The most accessible and probably the easiest option, most beginner friendly, will be liquid latex. You can get this at Spirit Halloween. This one is about 17 bucks for a pint of this. You can get them in like the little jars, stuff like that, and they'll come with a sponge because you do not want to use brushes in this. This will ruin your brushes. So this will run you about 17 bucks if you want to buy the pint, which not all of you are going to need this much latex for a Halloween night. So I would recommend buying this kind of jar, so you're not wasting it, you know, you don't need that much latex. However, this comes with a certain problem. If you are allergic to latex, you will not be able to use this, obviously, because it is literally liquid latex. You can use what is called scar wax. This is, just as it says, it is a wax, and you use it to build up things on your face. It is kind of tedious to work with, which kind of sucks. It's not good in places with movement. It gets hot really fast and stuff like that. So if you were to use scar wax over liquid latex, just be mindful that it won't be good in areas of movement, so like your mouth, your cheeks. It's pretty good for your forehead if you're not like going like woo all night. This tub is actually pretty expensive. This is about 30 bucks. So Halloween stores kind of sell them in these tiny little petri dishes pretty much, and it's basically the same exact thing. So those are your two options that are going to be most accessible to you for the Halloween season. So once you have one of those two build options on your face, you are going to need a way to paint it. So there are a bunch of ways you can go about this. There are expensive ways, easy ways, there's things that you have probably at home. These are cream sticks, or stacks. You get them, they come in about like 5 each. I just stack them all together. They're super easy, they're cheap, they're always available around the Halloween season. They won't really need setting, they'll just kind of stay where you put them, but they will be wet all night, so they are not transfer resistant. I do prefer these though over something like these. These are cream makeups. These are very liquidy. They don't set. Even if you powder the heck out of them, they still move and transfer and rub off really easily. I would kind of go for these, like any kind of creamy makeup that you can find, over these. These are more of grease paints, and these are more of like a liquidy cream. The things you have, so be it. Use what you can. It will transfer easier. They sweat off really easily, so I would kind of use these as a last resort almost. Then you have water activated paints. You can get these in little palettes at like Halloween stores. You can use like a clown one for this. Like this would be a good clown palette. What you would need to do with this is take the brush that you're using, dip it in water, and then you would get into the paint. Based on how much water you use will be based on the opacity of the color. You can build these up, all that stuff, so that's also a good option. These will not transfer. They set nice and dry once the water evaporates, and then you use water to remove them. Next thing you can use is eyeshadows. Eyeshadows are a pretty good way to get a lot of texture, shading, stuff like that. So like these browns and stuff like that would be good for more of like a dead kind of look. You can use reds and darker reds to create shadows within your wound, blacks to go around the wound to create kind of depth. So shadows are really good also for painting your Halloween looks. Probably one of the most important things that you will need if you are creating a giant wound on your face is blood. A nice deep blood or red blood. You can get black blood if you're going for more of like a zombie infected kind of wound look. This wouldn't be like a fill in your wound kind of thing because it runs, it doesn't stay, it beads up pretty a lot, so it would kind of like disappear. This is more like a spray blood where you take it on a chisel brush and you would spray your face with it. Kind of use it around the wound to kind of make it look nice and juicy and red and gross. One blood I would recommend is gel blood. It stays where you put it. It's nice and thick. It's a nice red color. It stays where you put it. It stays wet throughout the night. It doesn't really dry down a lot. It keeps it shine. Another really great blood would be blood scab. This is like a really thick kind of coagulated blood, and it will stay where you put it. You can use this to create blood clots, stuff like that. For brushes and stuff, since most of these products will most likely ruin your brushes and or make it impossible to get out, I get packs of brushes. These are about $5 at Walmart. You can get assortment of brushes. You don't have to go get like $20 a brush or ruin your nice beauty brushes. So I always pick up these kind of things. Also sponges, all that kind of stuff is really, really good. So now that we know kind of like the basic things that you're going to need, let's start creating things on our face. So first off, I'm going to take just any kind of paint. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be this color. Find something that is just a light color that you can easily use to sketch out where you want to put your facial laceration on. I'm going to go ahead and take my brush and just load it up with some pigment. And then I'm just going to map out where I want to put my wound. So I'm going to go here. So I'm going to do just a basic outline of where I want my wound to be and what I want it to look like. So now that we have that, for liquid latex, I'm going to take it and I get these little cups at the art store. They're pretty cheap. Go ahead and open up my latex and pour a little bit in. You're not going to need much. Pro tip, don't get this on your clothes or anything you love. It will ruin it. So one thing you're going to need to build up your wounds or anything are cotton balls or tissue paper. I prefer cotton balls. It's just way easier to build up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sponge, dip it in the latex, and then I'm going to place it on the edge of my wound, or where I want my wound to be. Now that I have that laid down, I'm going to take a thin strip of cotton and I'm going to lay it on top of the latex that I just placed down. I'm going to start building up a wall. So now you have a little cotton on your face. And I'm going to take my latex again and I'm going to put that on top of my cotton. Now things with scratches and stuff, since they would have more of like a pointed thing, I'm going to take the back of my brush and kind of push this outward. So now I'm going to take the end of my brush and kind of go along the sides and blend it into my skin so that the edge isn't so harsh. So I'm just taking that and kind of smoothing the ends of the cotton into my face. Take anything, I'm going to use the end of a bobby pin to kind of just lift this up a little bit to create your torn skin. So that's one scratch done. So now I'm going to repeat that for the other two scratches. once you have like your shapes kind of drawn out, you're gonna let these dry because you do not want to paint wet latex. It will ruin your brushes. So while that's drying, let's get started on our little scar wax guy. So for scar wax, you are going to want to coat your fingers in something like a Vaseline, lotion, something like that to kind of give it a little bit of slip, because your fingers will warm this stuff up and it will make it very hard to work with. So one thing I forgot to mention in the beginning is to adhere this, you're gonna wanna put down some spirit gum to kind of help it stick better. So you're gonna lay this down on the edge of where you wanna put your scar wax. You need that to get tacky. So take the end of my brush, I'm gonna start tapping it. Because the more you tap it, if you can see that, like the stickier it gets. So get a good amount of scar wax in my hand, and I'm gonna kind of make like a little sausage with it. And I'm just gonna lay it down on top of that. Now I'm gonna start blending this in to my skin. So starting on the outer edges, I'm going to push it kind of into my skin a little bit to start blending the edge. Take another slug and go on the other side. So now you can kind of pick at it a little bit to kind of tear it up, stuff like that. Okay, so now this part is optional, but it kind of will help set the scar wax a little bit more in place. Obviously, if you're allergic to liquid latex, don't do this step, but I'm gonna take a little bit of my latex and kind of set over that to kind of seal in the scar wax so that if it does move, or if my face moves a lot, it's not gonna move too much. So now we gotta let that dry. Meanwhile, these are mostly dry. So while the outsides are gonna finish drying, I'm gonna paint the outsides of this. So we're gonna take one of our little red cream paints. You can use a light red or a dark red. I'm gonna use a dark red today. So just a nice dark red. And I'm gonna take a little brush like this. It's just like a nice little flat brush. And I'm gonna put a lot of pigment in there. I'm gonna start filling these in. Okay, so once you kind of have like the basic red fill in, I'm gonna go in with the same brush and I'm gonna take some black and I'm gonna go around the outsides of those edges just to kind of darken them up and add depth to the cut. Now that I have the black filled in, I'm gonna go in with a bit of a brighter red and put that kind of more in the center to highlight kind of like the middles of these. If you're ever confused of like how you should paint something, just look at pictures of things that you kind of want to imitate, and it would kind of give you a better idea of how it should look. The inner part of it is kind of pretty much painted all done. As you can see with liquid latex, it doesn't blend into my skin very well. That's obviously not my skin. However, with scar wax, it's a little bit more believable because it's more of a skin tone color. We're just gonna take a little bit of a brown eyeshadow. You wanna put a little bit of brown in to cancel out kind of like the yellowness of that. So I'm gonna take just a light brown shadow and kind of shade around and add that to the outside. I'm just gonna take some foundation and kind of slap this all over my face really quick. Obviously, if you were to get scratched, it would not feel very good, and it would be a little, you know, I literally just dumped liquid latex all over my pants. And getting scratched in the face would kind of upset your face a little bit. We're gonna add a little bit of bruising and discoloration around the skin. Not a lot, just enough to kind of make it look irritated. A trick for that is to get a wedge sponge and start picking at it and picking off little pieces so that you get a bumpy and uneven texture. So literally what I'm doing is I'm just taking it and pulling off pieces. So now we have something like this. It's just a little bumpy sponge. And then I'm going to take a little bit of my red cream paint and dip into it and go very lightly kind of around the wound just to make it look irritated. And repeat for all your wounds. And if you get a place where it's kind of too concentrated, you can take your foundation and go over it so that it kind of lightens it a bit. And now it's the fun part, blood time. So, like I stated before, I really recommend blood gel for this kind of stuff. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna put a little bit in there. And take that brush, take a brush and kind of apply it in there. All right, and there you have it. You guys have some pretty basic wounds to create. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, let me know down below. I'll be happy to answer them. If you want any more kind of Halloween tutorials or special requests, let me know down below in the comments, and I will do my best to make this for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope this was helpful to you, and I hope you guys have a really fun and safe Halloween. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, share with your friends, all that stuff, and I might post another video sometime. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.